Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Poll Review, where we look at the results to the public opinion poll questions that I put on my main channel and see what you guys voted on. So let's dive in. Okay, here we go. Right, I would rather be important at a small organization, unimportant at a large organization, useless but making a reasonable living, or self-employed and everything depends on me. Well, the winner was important at a small organization, with 49% of people picking that one. That was pretty much expected. I mean, there really isn't a right or wrong answer to this, so it's a pure judgment call, and the people have spoken. Are you in control of your fate? Yes, no, or maybe. And surprisingly, no won out of the three. And then it was almost a tie between yes and maybe. So a little bit more fatalistic, a little bit more, well, whatever. What it is, right? This is what the perception is. It's pretty much a judgment call. This annoys me most. Interviewers not understanding my qualifications. Interviewers disrespecting my qualifications. Insulting HR people and unethical HR people. So interviewers disrespecting my qualifications won out as the thing that annoys people most. And I can totally see that. I would have expected this to be number one. That would be number two. I mean, it's kind of a judgment call with these things. They're all bad. It's hard to say which one's worse. So just based on your preferences, I guess. Okay, leadership is entirely about authority, altruism, feelings, or influence. I did a video on my third channel, The Company's Expert 3, recently talking about leadership and how there's at least 4 mainstream definitions of it. And as a result, a lot of conversations about leadership don't really go anywhere because people keep talking past each other because they're defining it differently. So this was interesting to see what most people perceive it as. And yeah, this is kind of what I would say. This is the textbook definition of leadership in a business context. So absolutely, yeah, influence wins. This is the hardest to learn: public speaking, selling, networking, or interviewing. And this is kind of surprising to me because a lot of people put networking. From my perspective, networking is really not that hard. It's pretty simple principles that most people can do easily. It's just that I think of all these topics, there's the most confusion around it. And also, most people recognize that this is what you need to get a job, as opposed to this not being as mainstream. I would have thought this would be the hardest one of the bunch. Interviewing, you can learn. It's a skill like any other. Public speaking, you can learn. It's a skill like any other. Selling is a skill, but it's a little of a tougher skill depending on circumstances. Whereas this is a skill like any other. You can learn it. It's really not that complicated. But the people have spoken. 4,000 people basically agree with this being the hardest to learn, which I strongly feel is not the case. I try and teach it on my channel. Will you succeed? Yes, no, or maybe. Well, it's weird because, the winner is yes. Most people feel they will succeed, but yet I think as we established down here, most people also concluded that they are not in control of their ultimate outcome. So it almost seems contradictory, but that's what we got. You let me know what you think. Are these contradictory, or they tie in together with, they're consistent? You let me know. Dropping out of the employment rat race to run your own business is doomed to failure, possible, not possible, or so current it's insane. I have asked this question before. But what's interesting is I get different answers, different results. So here we've got possible, and I absolutely agree with this. It is possible. The last time I asked this question, people were a lot more pessimistic about it then, so this scored a lot higher. But I would agree with this. It's possible, but it depends on understanding the fundamentals of business, having business skills. That's what it trains you to do. So there you go. Now, I believe I posted this on a Monday the 13th. I think that was what I did. So the unluckiest day is the 13th, Monday, Friday the 13th, or Monday the 13th. I honestly didn't know what people would say. So apparently Monday won out and the runner-up was Friday the 13th, even though it was Monday the 13th. It's almost contradictory. Monday is the unluckiest day, but yet Friday the 13th is more unlucky instead of Monday the 13th. Anyway, it's all about perceptions, isn't it? Networking is having lots of friends, reaching out to hiring managers, sending out hundreds of template messages, or all of the above. Well, I have asked this question before. This was intentional because this message, this question is meant to not really get information from the public, but to put out a message to the public that networking is all of these things. Okay, so most people correctly said it's all of the above, and that's true. I think a lot of people could have guessed this, but I think this one, like answers B and C, are a lot less intuitive for people. These are actually much more powerful than this for, like we talked about before, for getting good jobs, but networking in general. Because yes, you can have a lot of friends, but it's a subset, it's a finite amount. Whereas when you reach out to hiring managers, there's like hundreds of thousands of hiring managers in most cities. So, I mean, you know, the pool of people involved here is much, much greater than having lots of friends. So that's why this can be much more effective. Like, and this also. Okay. When a recruiter says, I don't have a salary range for this job, this means they don't have a salary range for this job. Fancy that. They do, but they're intentionally lying about it. They are lying about it and don't think you know. Or they do, they're lying, they know you know, and they don't care. And that one won out with 67%. And that's what I would have said too. Yes, I think that in the vast majority of cases, that's the deal. All of these other ones are possible, but I think the majority of the time it's going to be this one, just in my experience and what I've seen. This makes you feel most confident. The news, self-help, training, or experience. I've asked variations of this question in the past. And once again, it's because I'm trying to signal something that, yes, experience will make you feel confident. That's how you boost confidence. I get that question a lot. What can I do to make me more confident in job interviews? Well, you could do a lot of job interviews. Now, if you're not getting a lot of job interviews, you could do your own mock interviews. That's the number one thing to help you perform better in an interview and boost your confidence. So this is me trying to put that out. I don't know if I succeeded in that, but there you go. It certainly isn't this. But it's okay, because this is the world seen through a negative filter. That's what most people don't realize. Okay, this weekend I intend to get centered, go nuts, go so far beyond nuts it'll scare people, and spontaneously give birth to myself. Well, that was the most popular option. Apparently, this weekend people intend to spontaneously give birth to themselves. I'm not sure exactly what that means. I don't want to know what that means, but apparently it really resonated with people, which is alarming. My next ambition is to manage nothing, money, projects, or everyone I know. I have asked this question also before with some different answers. I'm surprised more people didn't answer that. I think that's kind of funny. Unfortunately for some people, it is not funny. It is reality, and that's unfortunate. I also think this is kind of unfortunate that that is the winner whenever I ask this question. This is the most popular choice. Like, people's ambition is to manage nothing. The way things usually go, like I've said before, people end up, with time, they become the senior employee with a lot of years. They have a lot of experience, a lot of wisdom. They've seen a lot of things. So they're in a perfect position to train younger, newer, less experienced people. So it's a natural progression. But I guess if I had to guess, I would say this is the lens of youth, where you can't imagine yourself when you're 60 years old or anything like that. All you can imagine is now. And so that's what's leading to this. But that's just a theory. You let me know what you think in the comments. Today is a weird day. I believe I asked this on April 20th. And if you look up April 20th, a lot of weird stuff has taken place on April 20th. True or false? I think a lot of people said true. A lot of people did say true. I think it's maybe for a different reason that I was asking. This has the biggest positive impact on one's career: confidence, networking skills, leadership ability, or absolute traffic stopping attractiveness. I have asked this before too. I think with a different combination of options, but yeah, this is the perception. This is the perception. Actually, it's down between this, and this, and people basically got that. I think this also is a bigger factor than people are giving credit for. But I think in the end, now that I think about it, I think I would answer in this order. So networking and then confidence. I mean, the problem is they're all effective to varying degrees. So it's hard to say which is the most effective. Bit of a judgment call. I'm trying to get people to think about this stuff. At work, people treat me differently based on my grooming and attire. Yes, no, or maybe? Yes, and that is correct. This is a well-known thing. It perhaps shouldn't work like this, but it does. So knowing this can help us navigate it. Forewarned is forearmed. That's why I'm asking such questions, because I'm trying to put that out there. At work, people treat me differently based on whether I smile. Yes, no, or maybe. And yes, definitely. A little bit less confidence than the previous question about grooming and attire. So less confident, more people are saying maybe. This is definitely true. If you look kind of pissed off or annoyed or confused or, worried, like fearful, people will treat you differently than if you look approachable, friendly, confident, happy, content. You know what I mean? So that's the implications of this, right? That's what I mean by smile. Just look pleasant, look agreeable, look content. Yes, people will definitely treat you differently. This is a well-known thing. There are people that study this kind of stuff. They're called social scientists. And I believe applied psychology or sociology is where they study this. And they have shown this. I hate this question the most. What is your current salary? What is your weakness? Why should we hire you? And where do you see yourself in 5 years? These are all standard questions. I actually agree with this one. Usually when I ask a variant of this question, I get some weird results. But this is the most problematic question of the bunch. You really have to watch out what you say to this question, because they're actively trying to eliminate you. It's the most dangerous question, where they can get the dirt on you and eliminate you because of the reason. That's often how this question is used in practice. In theory, it shouldn't be used that way, but in practice, it often is. So that's why you got to watch it. I think people hate this because they don't understand it. They think it means, why should we hire you? What they're asking is, why should we hire you specifically instead of anyone else? What's so special about you that's different from the other candidates? What makes you stand out? That's what the question is really asking. And That's what makes it a legitimate question when you interpret it like that. You need sales skills for that. You know, these are, like this one is a personal question that you don't have to answer. You're under no obligation to answer this. And this one here is they're testing for fit. So if you say, I see myself doing something totally different than what this job is, that's going to be a problem. They're going to eliminate you for a lack of fit. If a recruiter says something rude to you, ignore it, laugh it off, ask them if that was a put down, and shout out every expletive you know. This is obviously a joke answer. I hope nobody does that. This was the winner. Ignore it with 45%. Not a lot of confidence there, but it did win. Less people are inclined to laugh it off, although this is something that you would do in higher circles. And the reason why you do that is because it diffuses the situation very quickly, usually. And it also accounts for the fact that perhaps you misheard or misunderstood. There was a miscommunication there. So just as the first response to a possible miscommunication, you take the most positive response of the options available to you. That's the reasoning behind this. Now, asking them if that was a put down, that's where you start to confront them. You say, I'm sorry, was that a put down? You know, that's where you're starting to throw it back at them. It's still professional. It's still following protocol, but it's starting to get quite adversarial. So I would not recommend this if there was any possible chance it was a miscommunication. I would do this. Okay, the employment question, why should I hire you, has only one acceptable answer, signals I'm dealing with a bad interviewer, has an infinite number of acceptable answers, or signals I'm dealing with a bad employer. This question is a total judgment call. Okay, it depends on what industry you're in for maybe some of this stuff to be true, right? Signaling that you're dealing with a bad company or a bad person. Now, the employment question, why should I hire you? In a very general sense, it only has one acceptable answer, but in practice, in a more technical, detailed sense, there's many forms it could take. So either this or that, it really is, they're both correct. You know, they're all correct. So it's a judgment call. When a recruiter asks you, tell me about yourself, you should give your political manifesto. What are the odds that that's correct? Give your hobbies, volunteering activity, and places lived. Give your personality type and aspirations, or give your education and work experience. Well, I famously recommend this. I think the most popular video on my main channel is making this recommendation, and something like 9 million views on that video or something. But yeah, like this is an icebreaker. So it's usually the first question asked. You're just kicking the interaction off. You're just starting to talk. So you basically lay down the broad strokes of who you are with, your really important points in a nutshell. And that's basically your education and work experience. And then the conversation can move outward from there in whatever direction the interviewer is interested in. Do not give this under any circumstances. This is largely irrelevant and only gives them ammunition to try and eliminate you. This is more pertinent, but it can get you into hot water because it can clash with their expectations. So once again, it's just ammunition to eliminate you. This is what you want to do because it was already part of your job application. And as such, it's safe to say because they received it and still called you back in for an interview. So it's safe to say in an interview. They're obviously not going to eliminate you by virtue of the fact there was a problem with that information, or else you wouldn't even be at the interview. And yes, that does assume they've read your resume. Okay, the longest I've been between jobs is 2 months or less, 3 to 7 months, 8 to 20 months, or 20 months or more. 20 months or more won. So we're seeing people being unemployed for a longer continuous block. and that is consistent with employment trends. So unfortunately. So, yeah. What's most important? The workplace environment, the pay, the work itself, or the opportunities for advancement? Well, most people said the workplace environment. That makes a lot of sense. It's actually more important than pay, which is consistent with what we see when people leave jobs. They leave most often because of a bad boss. That's the number one reason. Compensation is usually not the most important reason people leave. So this is consistent with that. In your experience, when a recruiter says, I'll get back to you, this means I'll get back to you. I'll get back to you if something comes up. Let's end this conversation, but I wish you no ill. And I'll never get back to you, you contemptible little chump. You gotta love that. That actually won out. So this is a well-known line, a phrase that's used. Now, in the business world in general, if you don't know this, it has kind of its own language, its own code. And unfortunately, for whatever reason, for better or worse, this line has come to mean the opposite of what it says. I'll get back to you usually means I will never get back to you. So people use it like this because they are only saying pleasant things, but yet communicating something negative. And people are a huge fan of that. You know, you're communicating something, they get the message, but you only say positive things. That's like a win-win. So, yeah, unfortunately, it means I will never get back to you. So it could legitimately mean all three of these. I think a lot of people imagine it means this. It feels like it means that, unfortunately. I think probably in most contexts, technically it probably means this, but it obviously can go either way. Okay, this will get me the furthest. Now, the jury's still out on this. This poll is the last one we're going to cover. It's only been out for 5 hours, but so far, this will get me the furthest. Networking skills, conversational skills, technical skills, or extreme fashion sense. Now, I meant this as a humorous thing, but you never know. Some people are really breaking down barriers here. Networking skills is the winner. And I would have to say of these options, yes, I agree. Yeah, that's the right answer. I mean, conversational skills is really a contender for the best answer also, because networking is talking about connecting with people. Conversational skills, that's what really wins people over. When you do have an interaction with them, you know, and they go away thinking, wow, that person's awesome. I would love to work with them. I think they're highly capable. I enjoyed the interaction. I'm kind of sad that it's over. You know, when they have that reaction to a conversation with you, good things usually come. And if your conversational skills are such that pretty much everyone you encounter, that you have an interaction with, they're going away feeling like that about you, usually that really bodes well for lots of opportunities opening up before you. So I would say this is the right answer, although I can understand why people pick this, because it's something that's really talked about a lot in this context. So there you go. Anyway, thank you for watching. Let me know in the comments if you have any opinions on this, on these questions, whether I'm asking the right questions, whether I got any of the answers wrong, what questions I should ask in your opinion. Let me know your feedback in the comments. Thanks for watching. You guys are awesome. I will see you on the next video. Take care.